So I woke up to a comment from a lovely Christian. A comment that said that they got 1 minute into my last video, or last set of videos, because this was on YouTube. That they got 1 minute in, and already I was adding to the word. And somehow, me explaining or prophesying that charity, which is the love of God, is alluding to us teaching the commandments and righteously rebuking sin, like it says in Leviticus 19 by definition. Because the Messiah came to elevate the law. He elevated loving God and neighbour, which is the royal law. He elevated that over sacrificial law, ended sacrificial law, so that we would rebuke each other according to the Holy Covenant. And in doing so, that is judging the cause of the fatherless and the widow. So somehow that's me adding to the word and not actually just explaining the word. And then their definition of charity was physical charity, obviously, going to the letter of the New Testament, as always. Yeah, giving food to charity is always a nice thing to do. Of course it is. But that's not what is being talked about in the New Testament. Whenever you see charity, they've changed love, which is talking about the elevated law, the royal law, the love of God and neighbour. That's the charity, loving God and neighbour. So the elevated law, James 2, the royal law, it says, if you love your neighbour according to the scripture, if you have charity for your neighbour, you give to charity according to the scripture, you will do well. According to the scripture means Leviticus 19, the very law that he elevated. So, apparently, defining scripture with scripture is me adding to the word and not prophesying. But I just wanted to do that really simple, quick video to just show any of you women that are stuck in the Christian church. Love, charity, the agape of God means that you keep and teach the covenant. Because when you judge, it says all the way through prophecy, they judged not the cause of the fatherless and the widow. What was the cause? The cause isn't that they don't have food and clothing, or that they don't have a father and a husband. The cause of the poor and needy, if you give them clothing and food, you're not judging the cause. You're just covering the symptom. The cause is transgression of the covenant. And if you want to get really nitty-gritty into prophecy, the cause of the fatherless and the widow especially is alluding to war. God judges nations through war, through other nations. Because what happens at war? The men die. And then the women get taken over by other men. Then you get the fatherless and the widow. The cause of that nation being punished by other nations is the forsaking of the Holy Covenant given at Horeb. It's really as simple as that. Deuteronomy 4:13, the Holy Covenant that the Messiah came to teach and elevated it so that we would keep it and then teach it. And in doing so, you're essentially, that's how you're judging the cause of the fatherless and the widow. When you go to the church and say the reason why this world is a shithole is your fault because you forsook the 10 Commandments. And who gains intelligence with this church, this people who claims to be God's people? Who gains intelligence with them during Great Tribulation? The Antichrist. And it literally says that. Like, I don't get how you could read Daniel 11 and 12. When the Messiah, he tells you, he says, for whoso readeth, let him understand. He's talking about the abomination of desolation. You're supposed to go to Daniel 11 and 12 and read it. And within those chapters, you're going to see that the Antichrist gains intelligence with those who forsake the Holy Covenant. Not this made-up new covenant where... It's funny, I always go to say, oh, this made-up new covenant where you don't have to keep the commandments. But the scriptures they twist about the new covenant, it says they're going to be keeping the commandments. So it's like you're at a loss with these people. They really just, they don't want to obey. So they're going to twist whatever they want to say that you don't have to obey. I was even listening to my husband this morning. He had a live or a video or something on of this Christian guy rebuking this gay Christian We know that that's an abomination. We know that that's not a thing. There's no gay believer. Unrepentant anyway. But this guy is an apostate Christian that teaches against the Holy Covenant. Romans 1 tells you that because of covenant breakers within the church, sodomy increases. So this guy that is standing on this false sense of self-righteousness, he's not standing on the 10 Commandments so that this person can be healed, because demons that cause homosexuality and things like that, demons are cast out by the finger of God. What was written by the finger of God? The 10 Commandments. So he needed to be telling that guy to keep the 10 Commandments, to be cleansed. But instead, he was just saying that that's a sin, but we're still saved by the blood only, and that grace is unmerited favour. But somehow, like, this guy doesn't have to keep the Sabbath, but this guy can be gay. It's hypocrisy. Beware of the leaven of the Pharisees. The people teaching the covenant, teaching the love of God, aren't the Pharisees. The Pharisees are the people like I've just explained. Hypocrites in judgment. They don't judge righteously. They haven't taken the log out of their own eye. And John 5, the Messiah literally warns you that the Pharisees and these people don't have the love of God in them. They don't even keep the 10 Commandments. They teach the law. Some people teach the law. They teach parts of the law. They teach the New Testament, whatever. They're all liars and hypocrites. Hypocrites in judgment. They won't keep the 10 Commandments in faith. That's how come you can then judge righteously, because that's how God dwells with you. But yeah, charity is love, and the love of God and neighbour is that you keep and teach the covenant. Simple as.